morning, Beacon. Good morning. Welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation and Summit here on the ancestral lands of the Lenape people. My name is Jamaine Cripe, and I am your Director of Religious Education, and I welcome you this morning to another day. I have an uncle, actually, he's my mom's best friend, who I count as an uncle now, who actually sends me every single day a little text message of encouragement. And the one I got today says, "You're amazing, remember that." And so I want to tell that to all of you. You are amazing, remember that. Even though the world is spinning and things are happening that we are not happy about, we are able to be together in worship and to be together in community, so welcome. A couple of announcements quickly wanted to make. If you have never been here before and you're wanting to get to know the community and other people much better, please join us after service in Fellowship Hall downstairs for Beacon Cafe, where we'll have some coffee, some conversation, kvetching, whatever we've got going on in our lives, we share it freely with one another. Second of all is, if you've probably noticed in the lobby, there is a display to the left with items for our diaper collection. Our social justice team is collecting items for women in the community who need assistance in providing for their children. So if you find yourself with the ability to go to Target and, I don't know, grab a pack of diapers that you haven't done in, like, say, 20 years, like me, or longer, I'm not putting numbers, I'm picking my number. I claim my number. 20 years. Please bring some back and add to the collection so we can support those in need around us. Also, we are currently already taking contributions for our annual fundraiser, Harvest Delight, which isn't happening until November 14th, but you've got the summer to kind of plan what you would like to give or how you would like to support that evening. And please mark your calendars for that day, because you'll be able to come and enjoy a meal provided by our membership. Again, a great opportunity to fellowship and get dazzled by the comic stylings of Chad Petrove and Pete Lentz, two of our members who are going to be acting as co-MCs. Finally, this coming Saturday, July 25th, I'm already in the fall, the Plainfield Food Pantry will be doing its distribution. So for our young ones who are looking for community service hours, or for our older ones who are just looking for an opportunity to connect and support the community, that's another way. Please reach out to Charlie Neese and Denise Sopas in the social justice team, and they will happily give you more information about that. So please join us by sitting down. My friends online, please introduce yourselves in the chat and get comfortable as we come together to worship. Thank you all for being here, and let us worship together.
Good morning, Beacon. Good morning. Today we're gonna light our chalice, and I need a volunteer. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, Ellen, you can come on up. Great. Our chalice lighting words this morning come from the poet Maureen Killeran, who shares, need a wick.
It will happen.
I believe you.
Persistence.
Our words are from the poet Maureen Killeran, who shares the following. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love.
Good morning once again. My name is Liss. This is James Shawcross, and we are leading the music today. And this is our first time leading our music here, but some of you who know us know James was our music director at the church we attended in Tennessee before we moved here, and it is really good to be performing again. So we're excited to lead the music today, and we're going to start by singing together number 155 in the gray hymnal, Circle Round for Freedom. And if you can stand in body or spirit as you are able, we will all sing together, Circle Round for Freedom. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. One more time. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
When you think of summertime, what foods come to mind? Ice cream. Potato salad? Watermelon. What was that? Lemonade. Well, the beach? You eat the beach. Did you say a peach? A peach. Okay, good. I was a little nervous, and so we're gonna have to talk after service about your dietary. What was that? Hot dogs. Well, the first one that came up, corn, that came up is the one I think of. When I was a child, no cookout was complete without my mom's salt and ice-filled tub churning around homemade ice cream. And not just any old ice cream, her favorite, butter pecan. Honestly, butter pecan was the only flavor other than chocolate purchased in my house when I was growing up. Most of my black and brown friends were the same way. And the cultural significance of this flavor didn't occur to me until I was in African American Studies class in university, when I found out that African Americans at once were denied the privilege of eating vanilla ice cream on any other day than July 4th. Even though James Hemings, Thomas Jefferson's enslaved chef at Monticello, was the first American formally trained in French cuisine and credited with creating the French style of vanilla ice cream that Americans' palates have enjoyed since the 1790s. Some people erroneously credited Thomas Jefferson with popularizing ice cream for his new nation, even going so far as to market it as Thomas Jefferson's ice cream recipe. But do you think Thomas Jefferson spent any time in a kitchen? Of course not. Thomas Jefferson wasn't a chef, and he did not have the recipe for ice cream. But James Hemings, Jefferson's wife's Martha's half-brother that he enslaved, did. Jefferson just wrote it down. James Hemings' impact on American food has actually gone beyond ice cream. The idea that we eat macaroni and cheese, French fries, and even the French style of ice cream, the more custard-based, is actually accredited to James Hemings and his culinary mastery. Edmund Albus was a 12-year-old enslaved boy on the island of Reunion, which is now Madagascar, that developed the manual pollinization for vanilla bean, an innovation that remains the way they actually process vanilla beans to this day, made vanilla flavoring affordable and globally accessible. And finally, Augustus Jackson was a black entrepreneur who worked as a chef in the White House for 20 years. He went home to Philadelphia afterwards and retired and became a caterer and opened up an ice cream business which made him a fortune because he decided to use no eggs in his recipe after being banned from purchasing eggs from a white farmer in their community and started using heavy cream instead of milk. He also added salt to the ice, which made it cool even further, allowing ice cream to be transported interstate. But in the days of slavery and Jim Crow, vanilla ice cream was frequently referred to as pure, a signifier of whiteness and exclusivity. In many public spaces, and Black Americans were generally not allowed to eat it. They were able to do so only in symbolic occasions like the 4th of July as a bitter reminder of their own freedom that still hadn't come. Literary greats like Audre Lorde and Toni Morrison shared experiences of being denied access to vanilla ice cream in their writing. The simple taste of vanilla was fainted with layers of racial significance, drawing a cold line between those who could claim purity and those who could not. Yet from that exclusion came some creativity. As vanilla and pecans became more widely available, by the way, I know a lot of y'all say pecan, but it's pecan pie, it's pecan. As pecans became more widely available, my ancestors looked at the denial of vanilla ice cream and said, "Challenge accepted." Black cooks and families began to reinvent ice cream themselves, transforming it with touches like butter for richness and pecans for depth and texture. As the result, butter pecan, a strong, buttery choice that wasn't just delicious, but defiant. It was evidence that even in the smallest ways, joys can be taken back and reimagined. Butter pecan ice cream quickly established itself as the beloved staple in Black homes across the South and beyond, gracing Sunday tables and summer cookouts, a flavor handed down like a family story. In many Latino neighborhoods, butter pecan still holds similar weight as well, symbolizing adjusting to this new nation, coming together with other immigrants, and the merging of Latino and Afro cultures. This plain dessert became a low-key gesture of pride, a statement that said, "We may have been refused vanilla, but boy, oh boy, did we create something even sweeter." So today, butter pecan is more than just a flavor preference. It's an emblem of the culture, a symbol of innovation in the face of limitation. It's a reminder, in the manner of food and music and art have always enabled Black communities to turn oppression into expression. Butter pecan ice cream is not simply a dessert. It's my ancestral heritage, a heritage of hands that have worked, minds that created, and spirits that refuse to disappear in the darkness of ignored history. And so with every bite, what we taste is not only sweetness, but survival and a call for justice and equity for all. Here ends our time for all ages.
Good morning, again. My name is Adam. I'm honored to speak with you today on behalf of our congregation's lay chaplains. Being a lay chaplain means walking alongside people during the moments that matter most. A hospital stay, a diagnosis, a loss, or simply a season when someone needs to be truly heard. We are not ordained clergy, and we don't claim to have all the answers, although our ordained clergy don't also claim to have all the answers. What we offer instead is presence, showing up, listening without judgment, and honoring each person's own beliefs and journey, whatever form that takes. In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, that feels like sacred work, trusting that each person carries their own wisdom and that our role is to accompany, not to instruct. Practically, that might look like checking in on a homebound member, making a phone call, or simply being a familiar, caring face during a hard week. It's a ministry built on relationship and trust, and it only works because this congregation has built a culture where people feel safe reaching out. If you or someone you love is going through a difficult time, please know that the lay chaplains are here, not to fix, but to walk with you. Thank you for trusting us with this work and for being the kind of community that makes it possible. Now we're going to light candles to mark hopeful times in our lives, sad times, or fears, or whatever it is that we're bearing today with us. We'll come forward, take a candle light, and reflect. This is a sacred time that also our friends at home can commemorate if they have a candle they can light where they are. Thank you.
And if you don't know already, this is Liss on trombone and James Shawcross on the piano. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us. Our reading this morning comes from the American poetess Amanda Gorman, who shares in her poem, Gated. Ha! We're so pained, we probably thought this poem was about us. And not another. Now we see it was for both, for all of us who have been othered, where we are no less than we've been from. To be haunted is to be hunted by a history that is still hurting, needing healing as much as we do. And just like that, through poetry, we have recalled what is not ours, made the past the same as our pang. This may be the only way we learn. We've spent generations quarantined, exiled from places of each other, life locked out from us. Call us, call 'em abused, call 'em busted, colonized, categorized, cleansed, controlled, killed, conquered, captured to the coast, crowded, contained, concentrated, conditioned, camped. Never forget that to be alone has always been the price for some and the privilege for others. We have yielded centuries of sidewalk, trained in this tradition before we even lived it. What it is to bow our heads and make room for someone else's pride. That seating of the walkway was the concession of the world to another's age-old white rite of passage. We always ask questions of those who came before. To be surveyed, then, is to have survived. But the question is, why did the chicken cross the road? Because there was a white person coming down it. How we are moved says everything about who we are to each other. Last year, we stepped onto an elevator and we politely asked the white lady behind us if she could please take the next lift to continue social distancing. Her face flared up like a cross in the night. "Are you kidding me?" she yelled, like we just declared, "Elevators for us only, or you must enter from the back, or use and no dogs allowed, or we have the right to refuse humanity to anyone." Suddenly it struck us. Why is it so perturbing for privileged groups to follow restrictions of place and personhood? Doing so means, for once wearing the chains their power has shackled on the rest of us. It's to surrender the one difference that kept them separate and thus superior. Meanwhile, for generations, we've stayed home, gated, kept out of parks, kept out of playgrounds, kept out of pools, kept out of public spaces, kept out of outside spaces, kept out of space, out of outer space, kept out of movie theaters, out of malls, restrooms, restaurants, taxis, kept out of buses, kept out of beaches, kept out of ballot boxes, offices, kept out of the army, kept out of hospitals, hotels, clubs, jobs, kept out of school, kept out of sports, kept out of streets, kept out of water, kept out of land, kept out of kept, and kept from kept behind, kept below, kept down, kept without life. Some were asked to walk a fraction of our exclusion for a year, and it almost destroyed all they thought they were. Yet here we are, still walking, and still kept. To be kept to the edges of existence is the inheritance of the marginalized. Not being, in other words, distance from society, social distance, is the very heritage of the oppressed. Which means to the oppressor, social distance is a humiliation. It is something less than free, or worse, someone less than white. For what does Karen carry but her dwindling power, dying and desperate, dangerous and dangling like a gun hung from the tongue? Fundamentally, supremism means doing anything to keep one's soul conceit, even if it means losing one's soul. Even if it means not wearing the mask that would save you, for that would mean taking off one's privilege. It means always choosing poisonous pride over preservation, pride over nation, pride over anyone or anything. This realization is not ours. It is art, in fact. It is both method and a finding. An answer to the inquiry, it is what is found and the manner in which it is discovered. Anyone who has lived is an historian and an artifact, for they hold all their time within them. Reconciliation is not the record we make. If we remember anything, let it be to remember. The road forward. We shall have it if we keep walking and remembering each other.
Good morning. My name is Ted Lawson. I'm a white, middle-aged, average height guy with light brown and increasingly gray beard and hair. I'm wearing a checkered shirt and blue linen pants today, and I was asked to share why I volunteer. The short answer is, Thule said I had to. The more interesting answer is that one night when putting my then 3-year-old through his bedtime routine, I was broaching the subject of body safety and who is allowed to see or touch your body. I felt awkward and ill-prepared, scared I would muck it up and generate unwarranted fear or shame in my amazing, innocent son. I found myself praying for guidance about it as I lay in bed that night. I remember this very clearly because 1, I don't often do the formal prayer thing, and 2, because I was especially awkward about it. I mean, even for a UU prayer, this thing was all over the place. I was all, okay, divine order, dear God, nope. Okay, divine order, please help me not mess this up. It's really important and really tricky, and I just want to do right by him here. The next morning, I find an email from Dr. Thule Patel tactfully saying, you know, parents who have kids in the youth program usually volunteer in the youth program. But actually, instead, I think you should volunteer as an OWL facilitator to young kids. I looked up OWL and saw that the youth program is a secular, comprehensive sexuality education and personal safety curriculum. Did Thule Patel just answer my prayer? Is Thule Patel the divine order? I mean, she smiles a lot, right? So soon, I and my husband, Sean, both did the Young OWL Facilitator training, which was a lot more in-depth and a lot more inspiring than I expected. And the last few years, I've been co-facilitating 5th grade OWL with the phenomenal Allison Murphy. Anyone want to share what comes to mind when you think of sex ed class? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's gross, right? Well, the 5th grade curriculum does cover good old anatomy and contraception, but it is not sex ed, because it also explores the intersections of sexuality with values, relationships, identity, body image, and cultural influences. Heady stuff, but extremely relevant for these 5th grade kids in their daily lives. My 2 favorite things that OWL imparts are 1, personal agency, and 2, deeper communication with their parents. Kids leave the OWL program knowing that they have the right to ask questions and with a better sense when respect is present or lacking in a relationship, and better equipped to talk to their adults about tricky or heavy situations instead of to the internet or AI platforms. They need these things now more than ever, because the world is coming at them quickly. For example, the average age children are now exposed to explicit pornography online is between 7 and 12 years old. Importantly, over half of these kids find it accidentally. But it's not just images. Our kids are being barraged with information and opinions on serious things. So it is vital that they get to build their own framework to assess and slot these things into their minds, and to have open communication with their adults where they can process tricky things. I have learned so much in OWL, from the training, from Allison, but mostly from the kids. Every year, the kids teach me about the world we, and especially they, live in. One way they do this is through the anonymous question box. Each week, the kids anonymously submit questions about whatever they want. Allison and I have to show up the next week with answers. And great group conversation then ensues. Allow me to share with you some actual questions submitted over the last several years. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. These are some of the more bland ones, as to be appropriate for this setting, though there may still be some interesting conversations triggered for your car rides home. When you listen to these questions, I invite you to think what it would be like to not know the answer and to not have a trusted place to ask it. For parents of young kids here, think about how you would answer these questions. Okay, here we go. I was peer pressured into asking my crush if they like me. Their answer was no, so what should I do now? Is it okay to have an app that is my AI relationship app? Which gender does HIV go to? What is the good thing about sex that people like? It all sounds terrible. Why do people think gay people are bad? Why are women treated the way they are versus the way boys are? What if you don't want someone to keep touching you, but they won't listen? Why does the boy have to hit or be rough to the girl for it to be good? What if someone sends a nude photo and the person that received it says they have to send more or else they'll show everyone the photo? What should I do? Did Coco Chanel invent skin cancer? I am so grateful to Thule, Jamaine, Jay, Kristen DeFour, and the other OWL volunteers, and all of you here for making OWL possible, for creating a place where kids can safely ask questions like these. I know that my life would have been much improved if I had had such a place. I want my kids to have such a place, so that's why I volunteer. Thank you.
And in support of the ministries like OWL and so many others, this morning's offering will gratefully be received.
This next piece that we are going to play is called Song of the Rose by Sonia Leonard-Stahl, and it was inspired by Oscar Wilde's The Nightingale and the Rose from 1888, and just a little excerpt from it. There's a nightingale who seeks to find a rose for a young man who wants to woo his love. And the nightingale looks for this rose and finds a beaten, cold rose bush that tells that the only way that it can produce a rose is you must build it out of music by moonlight and stain it with your own heart's blood. You must sing to me with your breast against a thorn. All night long you must sing to me, and the thorn must pierce your heart, and your lifeblood must flow into my veins and become mine. And so with that sacrifice, that is the inspiration for this piece that we will play.
Earlier this year, when the summer themes were announced, I was super excited. I was offered the opportunity to craft a worship service and to lead it while Reverend Robin took a much-needed and well-deserved break. But when I heard the theme, America, the vision, the voice, the vice, I was less than thrilled. I mean, don't we toot our horns of exceptionalism pretty loud already? Dan and I were having a conversation during our social hour last week in regards to the feelings I had around seeing the American flag in town, and how, for some reason, the colors red, white, and blue started to take on a connotation that I wasn't comfortable with, which, in hindsight, was heartbreaking as a kid who grew up in the military and who is very proud of the country that she's from, to the point of where I wear red, white, and blue fairly often. But I was a bit growly about this topic. We've made many mistakes guided by greed and ignorance, prejudice, and a simple lack of care for one another. We've engaged in efforts to prove that we're number one while failing astronomically. But then July 4th rolled around, and I dreaded fearing what the world was going to see on spectacle at Donnie T's expression of patriotism in D.C. But I wasn't alone. According to Gallup polling, 27% of Americans feel indifferent or conflicted about celebrating the country. 8 out of 10 go as far as feeling the signers of the Declaration of Independence would be disappointed in how the U.S. has turned out. A substantial increase from 25 years ago, when it was 55% of people being disappointed and about 44 thinking they would be pleased. I found myself solidly in the camp of the displeased. I love this country. I just want it to get better, not get dragged back centuries into a period of hypocrisy and hopelessness. We've all seen it, and we openly support the theft of healthcare benefits from our veterans and disabled while displaying "Support Our Troops" stickers on the backs of our cars. We take funding from schools and national parks, from protections to protect the safety and cleanliness of our food and medicine and water, and funnel it into corporate welfare and wars, creating non-safe pathways for people to come in this country. We're snatching body autonomy from our LGBTQ people and women on the daily, and we're smiling about it and calling it great. And don't get me started on the national shame of slave and genocide, a racial stain that we have yet to honestly deal with. The cost of living is astronomical. Gas is out of range, and the rich keep getting richer while the poor sit stunned and unable to thrive. Simply stated, our sacred institutions are not consistently protecting the rights of the people. America, I personally don't believe we have a whole lot to be proud of. The semi-quincentennial, that's the actual phrase for 250 years. Can you post up the image? But then I saw this image of a young woman on the train. The world noticed and was horrified. Yet again, a person of color was left to hold the bag, to alone face the gross display of white supremacy. This is Patriot Front around them, a neo-Nazi ideological group disguised in red, white, and blue. And our response was adequate, or at least acceptable. We were enraged. Look how scared she is. How unapologetically plowed are these jerks. Look at them. Do they not care? No, they don't. But I challenge this body to say that even without our bluster, we really aren't living like we care about her either. Let me explain. News outlets and content creators have used this image by Cheney Orr, a freelance photographer, at the center of this summer's call for justice. The image was destined for the history books. It defined America. It deserves a Pulitzer Prize. But there's a bigger story behind this photo. Her name is Bernita Bowling. That's her name. And most people didn't know it until 3 days after she had this photo taken of her. She's a 33-year-old mother of two who didn't even know that she was internationally famous until she went out to the store and came home 5 days later. Her older brother, Paul, showed her the photo and asked if she remembered it. Sometimes she could. Sometimes she couldn't. It was as if millions of people decided who Bernita Boulding was without knowing who she is. How could so many people see her as an image and not see her as a person at all? They compared her to Rosa Parks, but Bernita's younger brother, Joseph, summed things up clearly. Rosa Parks had agency. She chose to make a stand. His sister was just riding the orange line. They said, "We love you, we got you," but the reality is this woman is homeless. Are they willing to sacrifice and say, let's help her get a place? Let's get her a job. Are they willing to do that? The more views they get, the more money they get. But is any of it going to Bernita? Bernita Boulding's family needs economic, mental health, and community support, and she's not getting them. She struggles with mental health, being known to disappear for days at a time when she's upset or just wants to be alone, leaving her kids to be cared for by her 65-year-old mother. Everyone is talking about her, but outside of her family, nobody is talking to her. Because if they did, they'd have to face the multitude of ways this country has let her and generations of her family down. They'd have to admit that this country is almost seeking newer ways to traumatize and disenfranchise her as an American by denying her access to mental health and economic support. It's more than about the fear shown on her face on that DC Metro train. It's about her being forgotten. Can you put up the second image? This is Roswell Encina. He was sitting on the other side of the train from her. Ironically, Roswell is the CEO and president of the United States Capitol Historical Society, a nonpartisan nonprofit chartered by Congress to foster and increase informed patriotism. Bernita was alone, and just like Roswell, surrounded. He'd been listening to Confessions too. I just got that. It's Madonna's new album. And he turned it off when these men arrived. He didn't know who they were, but they made him nervous. He texted his friends and said he was manspreading so he could keep these men away from him and not let them sit next to him. Oh my goodness, here I am in a gingham blue shirt, a red bandana, and blue boat shoes. God help me. I'm gay, Filipino, and American, and I look just like it. Like Bernita, Roswell is a forgotten story. That of a gay man who knows his right to exist, live, and love are threatened by the rolling back of rights everyday citizens in the name of false greatness. Even with all his economic privilege, Roswell's still in danger for living his authentic self on this train. It makes me want to scream the number of times online friends have posted their own takes of Bernita's photo. How can we, as Unitarian Universalists, say that love guides us and not see the simple truth of her existence? How can we allow ourselves to accept the continued violations of the social contract? You know that thing that philosophers talked about between us and our nation? I personally like John Locke's take on the social contract from 1689, which posits that individuals from governments through rational consent protect their natural rights, the thing that the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights bedrock, into law. Unlike Thomas Hobbes, who believed that human nature makes us incapable of being selflessness enough without having a government control us, Locke believed that citizens never surrender their sovereignty. No kings. We retain the right to rebel and overthrow a government that fails to protect the life, liberty, and property at ours. Simply stated, if our government fails us, becoming tyrannical or breaches the social contract by threatening citizens' properties or liberties, sound familiar? Then supreme power returns to the people, who were justified in revolting and replacing that administration. Now, this crisis of democracy has been accelerating rapidly, but it did not begin last year. It's been brewing for a long time. Even in 2021, the US was named on the global list of backsliding democracies by the think tank International IDEA. This was after the violent attempt to disrupt the peaceful transition of presidential power on January 6, 2021, and against the backdrop of rising election denialism, misinformation, and state-backed extremism. Our sacred institutions are not consistently protecting the rights of the people. The progeny of segregationists, the very people who denied my people access to vanilla ice cream, have now weaponized the 14th Amendment to re-enshrine white supremacy. And the US Supreme Court has enabled them to do so, decimating the core provisions of the Voting Rights Act and allowing states across the South and some states in the North to pass maps that effectively block Black and brown people from being properly represented. Make no mistake, the crusade against the spirit and letter of the Constitution's second promise of equal protection is under attack. But to some, this is called progress, bringing things back where they used to be. We, as a people, have made huge mistakes. But are we gonna let ourselves wallow in pity and shame, or are we gonna do something about it? We need to live into the sentiment and courage of another commuter on that DC train, that other one. We can't be angered about what happened and then just call it a day. We can't sit in them. We have to course correct and speak up about it. Because American people, some of us in this room, have kind of become numb to it, haven't we? There's just so much watching our fellow citizens be murdered by their own government, being othered by their neighbors, being denied the rights that our ancestors fought, bled, and died for. The days after Independence Days feel like the right time to remember that patriotism isn't about intimidation or fear. It's about having the courage to keep widening the circle of liberty, of dignity, of opportunity. We, Beacon, must become those better angels that Sky Perryman talked about. Because performative peace, that visible, symbolic actioning and rhetoric meant to project harmony, but doesn't really do anything real or substantial, cannot stand. It is the antithesis of justice for all. It's activism's sleight of hand, which provides optics, public relations, and quickly popularized victories over the real difficult work required to address root injustice and bringing peace and equity to all. Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, said in his congressional address in 1862, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country." I wonder if keeping us from engaging in this thought process is the purpose of doing things like allowing the denied ice cream cone. Was it a pacifier? A message to us that said as long as we obey the rules, we could still be occasionally rewarded with just enough to keep us patriotic and loyal? Perhaps it's more kind of pointless to ask for more context. The period during which African Americans were not allowed to eat ice cream tells us a lot about where this memory is located in time. It's a period of great progress, honestly, by Black Americans themselves. It was a time when our forefathers fought for this country and when our foremothers organized marches and protests against lynching and other injustices. When the mass migration from the South to the North took place, and when labor organizations became vehicles for early pressure for civil rights. The nadir of Black life in America, this period, from the born end of Reconstruction through the full enrichment of Jim Crow. By changing things in our minds, we shoved it firmly out. So finding our better angels at this time requires more than a miracle. It requires new movement. And that movement begins with all of us. Our responsibility would be less if we didn't stand on the shoulders of moral giants. The Abrahams, the Harriets, the Idas, the Marys, the Martins, the John Lewises, those who found a way through the times of despair, who did far more with less than what we have today. So my call is this: to move us into the real American dream that makes and maintains space for all, here is what we must do. 1, get the stories of injustice out there. Scream it from the streets. Make people care again, because this is not normal. This is not normal to have masked, militarized, untrained people snatching fathers and mothers from their homes, shooting them in their cars when they don't comply with fake warrants. 2, put your money where your values are. My dad always said there's 2 things to follow to know when someone is benefiting. See who benefits and follow the money. If you're not the one benefiting, control where your money goes. Shop and dine and purchase goods from businesses that represent your values and nowhere else. We're not a nation of people who need things. We're really a nation of people who want things. And if what you want is coming from someone who does not support you or your family, it's not worth it. 3, vote like your future depends on it, because it does. The SAVE Act, currently up for Congress, is plain and simply voter suppression. So show up and vote in November so we can have a better chance of keeping this bill as a bad idea instead of law. And finally, when presented with less than ideal options for elected officials, support lesser known candidates that do stand up for your ideals, that are willing to challenge the system. And if there aren't any good candidates, step on out of faith and become those candidates. I did it. It was hard and thankless most of the time, but I can honestly say that I was proud of what I did and what I stood for, even if it did cost me my reelection. I'm okay with that. Because continuing on the path of getting up in arms and then not making any radical, courageous acts of support isn't justice work. And it's not working anymore. Hell, it never worked, since we only gained crumbs to keep us complacent. Ice cream on July 4th. It's indeed satisfying, deeply meaningful, but me, I like butter pecan. I like the values, the victories, the hard-fought wars that came into that flavor. Because I know without that, we never would have fought to change the world that we were living in. Please take away this bit. White supremacy is not a regression or a blip. It's a through line in American history, and one that has persisted for a very long time to this present day because we have never honestly dealt with it. I've seen how damaging it can be to suppress our history. And also, more recently, I've seen how good it is when we confront those things. And I think that's what we have to do to move forward. We certainly teach it to our children. Mistakes are opportunities to grow. We've made the mistakes. It's time for us to grow out of them. Because we stand on the shoulders of moral giants. But they're not here anymore. We are. And it's up to us to take the next step. We must rise and rise boldly. Scream our truths out. It's the only way we'll become a nation of greatness that so many sacrifice themselves for. Because we too have to sacrifice ourselves, our pride, sometimes our own previous beliefs, and lean honestly into being the America, that great nation that we truly want to be for the first time ever.
have to follow that, okay. You should have received a little slip of paper with the words to Will the Circle Be Unbroken. This is the lyrical rewrite by the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge with a little tweak that I made just to make it a little bit more appropriate, and I hope that you enjoy it. We're going to start a little slow. I'll sing the chorus first, and then you all are welcome to join me on the verses and the following choruses. We're going to do it a little bit more gospel-y than the bluegrass tradition. So you can rise in body or spirit as we sing, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I was singing with my family, I was singing with my friends, and we all can sing together, 'cause the circle never ends. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Oh, my life on earth is troubled. No one else can feel my pain, but through sharing with my loved ones, I can sing that sweet refrain. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? And there's better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Come on. I was born down in the valley where the sun refused to shine, but I'm climbing to that highland, gonna make that mountain mine. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. When we fly up to that highland, that's so far, far away, we'll be singing all together when we see the light of day. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. One more time. Let the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the. There's a better home. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. One more. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Could you please join hands Would those across the aisle? Yep. As we extinguish our flaming chalice, let us be reminded that we are a beloved people, united in love, thirsting for restorative justice, whatever flavor it comes to us.
May the spirit of this collective melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness and inequality in our midst. May it spark within us a spirit of humility and courage. May it ignite in us a radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action.
This is the audacious hope and spirit of our shared UU Chalice. May we continue to shine a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideals, creating the beloved community welcoming to all. Have a blessed week.